Hello and welcome to Autumn Mental Health. Today we're going to be talking about 3 powerful strategies to help you reduce stress and anxiety naturally. I am Katerina Barada, and I will be your host today. I am a licensed acupuncturist, mind, body, spirit health practitioner, writer, teacher, mother, a whole lot of other labels, and I specialize in holistic mental health. And that is what I want to help you with today, specifically as the weather starts to get colder in autumn. So, what we're going to cover today is the emotional and practical themes of autumn based on traditional medicine like Ayurveda and Chinese medicine. Super cool. It's going to blow your mind. I'm really excited to share it with you. We're going to talk about the most common symptoms of imbalance to be on the lookout for this time of year. So, you know, if you start to see these pop up, that you want to take extra precaution, really pay attention to these 3 strategies even more to keep yourself on track and feeling awesome as the weather gets colder. And here are the 3 powerful strategies that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the stress and anxiety reducing foods to keep you grounded as the weather gets colder. So traditional medicine has been talking about letting your food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food for eons. That's really been the basis of healing and medicinal theory for as long as people have been around. And modern science is finally starting to catch up with this, noticing that the microbiome in the gut really has a really significant impact on mental health and well-being in general. So we're going to talk about how to use food as medicine this time of year so that you feel in tip-top shape. We're also going to talk about how to incorporate more routines and rituals into your life that are going to support mental health, and you're going to understand why this is so important in a moment. And then we're also going to talk about reflecting and releasing, and I'm going to give you some journal prompts to help you stay balanced in autumn, some things to reflect on that you might want to incorporate into your life and figure out what's important to you. And then I'm going to lead you through a really powerful and wonderful guided meditation to help you release the stress and anxiety that might be stored in your body so that you can just feel freer and lighter and easier and are able to show up for life the way that you want to. And finally, I'm going to share with you how you can continue to reduce stress and anxiety throughout the year if you are interested in doing that. So, without further ado, before we get into that, sorry, I forgot that I had the slide in here. So please do subscribe to this YouTube channel. My YouTube handle is youtube.com/c/Katerina Barada, and you can get more on holistic mental health strategies and inspiration. You can also head on over to my website, katerinabarada.com/bliss-kit, and download a free copy of the Bliss Kit PDF, which will help you rewire your neurology for less stress and anxiety so you can welcome more ease, joy, and confidence into your everyday life. So if that sounds good to you, then pause this video really quick, go download that, and then come back here and watch the rest. And let's get right into it. All right, so what is autumn from an energetic standpoint, according to traditions from around the world? And I'm focusing on Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine here, but what's really, really amazing is that traditions like ancient Greek medicine, Celtic medicine, Native American medicine, they all noticed and observed the same qualities. And even though the wording might be a little bit different, the overarching themes are all the same. And the advice on how to stay balanced and grounded and healthy and vibrant throughout the year generally is pretty much the same. So I find that fascinating and very validating. And I'm going to share those secrets with you here. So let's get into it. So you probably know this symbol, the Yin Yang symbol, the Tai Chi symbol from Chinese medicine, but you might not fully understand what it means. So we're just going to talk about this for a basic understanding of the energy in autumn so that you know why it might be imbalanced in a certain way, why certain things might be popping up for you, and how to bring yourself back to center. So the yin yang looks like this. And the yang is this up and out energy, right? It starts really small down here and then it grows and becomes really big here. And then this is where the yin starts at the biggest part of the yang, and it comes in and down, and it's really, really dark. So yin is in and down, and yang is up and out. That's the most very basic understanding of yin and yang, but there's more to it. There's lots of layers to yin and yang. Yin and yang really applies to every single thing that we see in life. And there's this beautiful anecdote of a old Chinese medicine doctor who, let's say he's 107 years old, and somebody asked him, like, what are you interested in now after all of these many years of practicing Chinese medicine? And he says, I am just thinking about yin and yang. So this old Chinese medicine doctor who's been studying this his whole life, he's still thinking about yin and yang. So there's a lot to be understood here. There's a lot that we can learn, and we're just covering the basics here. But one of the things to really notice is that yang, summer, is the most yang time of year. And right here, where I'm putting the cursor right now, at the very tip top of the yin yang symbol, where the yang is the greatest, this is summer solstice. And this is the longest day of the year. It's where yang is the biggest. And then we play out summer for a few more months after that, but the yin is already starting to grow. So after the longest day of the year, the yin is already starting to gain momentum. And by the time we hit autumn, we've really got a lot of yin here, right? This is a really big yin phase where things are starting to move in and down. So if you think about a deciduous tree, for example, right? So you've got in summer, it's really vibrant. It's got all these green leaves. It's dancing around in the summer breeze. And then autumn comes and all the leaves start to turn red and yellow and orange, and then they start to fall off. And all of that tree's energy is starting to move down with those leaves into the roots, into the nourishment. Those leaves then decompose at the roots of the tree, and the tree absorbs the nourishment from those leaves and from the soil around it, and really gathers up energy at the roots. So then in the spring, it can come back up and out as the yang starts to build again. But first, it needs to come in and down. So autumn is really about this in and down phase of the year where the leaves are falling down. All of the energy is moving down to the roots, and this applies to us too. And we do a lot of this intuitively anyway, right? We start to get cozy with sweaters. We want to be inside more. We want to cozy up with a fire, slow down, be a little bit lazier. Those are all natural things that we want to do in autumn, and they're actually spot on from an energetic standpoint. So then we've also got these qualities that relate to yin and yang. So just very briefly, yin is dark, yang is light. Yin is cool, yang is hot. Yin is night, yang is day. Yin is the new moon when there's no moon in the sky. Yang is the full moon when it's really bright. Yin is midnight. Yang is high noon, the brightest time of the day. Yin is winter, right? And yang is summer. Yin is solid, physical matter, kind of inert. And yang is the energetic life force movement that animates the solid matter. Yin is contracting in and down. Yang is expanding up and out. Yin is still. Yang is active. Yin is moist, and yang is dry. So those are things to keep in mind. You might want to revisit this, because once you've watched all of this and you revisit this, it's going to start to make a lot more sense. Every time you watch this, you will gain new layers of understanding. So there's a lot to be said here again, but this is just the foundation. All right, moving on. So what is autumn all about? Autumn is, from a Chinese medicine standpoint, the metal phase element time of year. So all qualities that we might relate to metal, so sharp, hard, flexible, boundaries, swords, like cutting off things and saying, no, I'm done with that. That's all metal, right? Those are the images that might come to mind when you think about metal. Also, it is related to the lung and the large intestine organ networks. So the lung is the rhythm keeper, breathing in, breathing out. And the large intestine is how we clarify and let go of our body, of the waste products in our body, right? The things that we no longer need. So those are both related to autumn. And those metaphors might be something that you want to chew on for a little bit. In Ayurvedic medicine, autumn is dominated by air and wind and prana, life force energy, right? So again, we've got in Chinese medicine, the lung, which is where qi really gets generated. The life force energy gets generated. Qi is another word for prana, which is another word for life force energy. And we see this in both these traditions. as really a dominating theme in autumn. So we've got a lot of movement and erratic transitions. And if we are not able to stay grounded, then we're going to start to feel really restless. We're going to start to feel overwhelmed. We're going to start to feel anxious. We'll get into that in a moment. Some other things that happen in autumn are that grief, loss, and release are themes of autumn, right? The trees are letting go of the leaves. We might want to reflect on what is no longer needed in our lives. What are we ready to let go of in order to make space for what we want? And this requires some reflection. It requires us to really think about, what do we value in life? What is important to us, and what is not so important to us? What can we say no to? How can we find more balance in order to feel more stable? Structure, routine, and ritual are going to be really helpful in helping us feel more balanced this time of year. And boundaries, in terms of figuring out, okay, well, this is important to me and this is not, and this is taking the energy away. So how can I set up a boundary so that I'm not putting my energy where I don't want it to be? Because again, we're entering into this yin phase of the year where the energy is moving in and down. It's not as up and out, obviously abundant. It's consolidating. It's building up potential energy. And that means that we don't have quite as much energy to give out. We need to turn in. And so setting up boundaries so that you're not spending more energy outside of yourself is going to be really important, so that you don't deplete your inner resources, so that you're actually able to build up that energy inside of you, and you'll have more ability to spring forth and give when you want to, and in the spring when nature is naturally moving up and out. If you want more information on boundaries, then head on over to my website, katerinabarata.com/boundaries, and I've got a really great write-up about boundaries and a free PDF that will help you set boundaries kindly, firmly, and compassionately with loved ones. So if you are somebody who struggles with boundaries, I really highly recommend that you go check that out. I also think I have a video here on YouTube, so you can go look if the video is up on boundaries, to help you learn how to set boundaries in a way that isn't so uncomfortable. Yeah, so just a little plug there for that, if that is a resource that you want. And let's talk about the symptoms of imbalance that can pop up specifically in autumn, given that we've got all of this air and movement and time of transition happening. So we've got if you have excessive debilitating grief, that is a sign of imbalance. Now, grief is a very important aspect of autumn. Allowing yourself to feel the physical effects of loss is going to be really important for your mental health. Allowing yourself to feel that, because it's there anyway. And if you're suppressing it, it's like you're building up the pressure in a dam, and that dam, that energy really wants to move, but it's being blocked. And that blockage is going to end up leading to things like anxiety, resentment, overwhelm, and so on from that suppressed emotion. So allowing yourself to feel grief and feel the effects of loss on your physical body is going to be a really, really great way to keep yourself balanced in the fall. If you're not doing that, then you might end up with anxiety. But then there's also the converse side of overindulging in this grief, of letting the stories in your mind run the show too much and just getting lost in grief. And that is also a sign of imbalance. So you don't want to suppress the emotion and end up with anxiety, but you also don't want to overindulge in it. You want to just observe what's happening and allow it to flow without judging it, so that it can move on out of you. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, or you have trouble doing that, then the meditation at the end of this video is going to be really, really helpful for you in order to learn how to allow those feelings to move through you, so that they can be released, and so that you have space for all the other feelings that you want to have. Feelings of instability and restlessness. Again, this comes down to air and wind. We've got more of the air element. We've got more movement in autumn, and we want to make sure that we are staying grounded as the world turns around us. Resentment and overwhelm. This again comes from the inability to turn inward and a lack of boundaries. So if you're giving too much and you don't have that to give, you're going to end up feeling resentful. You're going to end up feeling overwhelmed. So be really being clear on what's happening for you, what is available for you to freely and openly and lovingly um, yeah, what do you want to give versus what do you feel obligated to give? And where can you set up a clear boundary so that you're not giving more than you have? How can you fill your own cup before you pour from it? A lack of energy or enthusiasm for life, also a consequence of imbalance this time of year, a sign that you might be giving more than you have to give, that you're not turning inward enough, and so on. Breathing congestion, colds, and coughs can also come up. Again, we're in the lung phase of the year, so lung symptoms can pop up in autumn, and these are usually related to emotional symptoms as well. They are one and the same in Chinese medicine. And irregular bowel movements or any digestive distress, if you have more IBS this time of year, irritable bowel syndrome symptoms, then that's a sign of imbalance in autumn as well. Okay, so just a general overview of qualities to introduce and qualities to reduce this time of year. You want to introduce more warming and reduce more cold, because the weather, the environment is turning cold. And what happens when things are cold is that they stop moving. So you want to counterbalance that lack of movement with warming, some gentle movement, not this erratic wind drying movement, but like a stable, warming, just flowy movement. So you can just imagine a bubbling brook in a winter wood, right? The brook is still moving. It's still flowing, but it's not like going crazy, right? Because it's pretty cold. Outside. You want to introduce more grounding qualities and reduce mobile, doing too much. Doing too much is adding more of that air element to your life. It's also adding more of that yang activity. And right now you really want to be focusing on turning in and down with that yin energy, being more grounded and less up and out. You want some more rhythm and routine to keep you structured, to really support that lung energy of that rhythm keeper of the breath this time of year. Rhythm and routine also helps to add a little bit of an element of predictability to your life, which can take away too many choices and too much brain activity, right? So if you know what's going to happen, if you know that you're going to do this in the morning to set your day up in a certain way, you have certain intentions, and that helps you regulate your nervous system, that's also going to help you feel better in autumn and all year round, but especially right now when the winds are blowing outside. And you want to reduce more erratic, spontaneous, and unpredictable qualities and behavior this time of year, because again, that's adding more of that air element that's going to make you feel more frazzled and more yang than you want. You want to be more yin right now. You really want to complement that in and downward movement of energy. Adding more ritual and intention to your everyday life is going to be really great. Being more present when you can and really observing yourself doing things rather than being so much the doer, like stepping back and seeing life take care of itself. It's a really magical act when you surrender to life taking care of itself and knowing that you're going to do the things when you need to do them, and that life is going to do the things when life needs to do them, and that everything actually does get taken care of. So you can practice doing that. This is also going to help you be less absent-minded by just surrendering and being in the moment right here, right now. What needs to happen right here, right now, and how can I be present with it? How can I enjoy it? How can I infuse this with love? And then some other qualities that you want to introduce are moistening qualities and reduce drying qualities, but this is with the caveat that you want to introduce more moistening if you live in a dry climate, and you want to introduce more drying if you live in a moist climate. So really just look outside. Is it raining? Okay, if it's raining, then I want to have a little bit more of the dry quality. If it's really, really damp and moist outside, then maybe I want to add some more dry quality. If it is, yeah, you want to balance out depending on what your actual climate is. Generally, this time of year, it's good to be more on the moist and grounded side because moist is yin right? But if it's super, super damp out, then you don't need to have soup every day unless you really want to. So let's talk about the foods. What are stress and anxiety reducing foods? These are the foods that are going to help you feel more grounded. They're going to support your digestion and support your gut health so that your hormones are flowing well, your blood sugar is stable, and you are you feel more at ease when your digestion is at ease. And traditional medicine knew this long ago, and modern science is starting to catch up with that. So let's talk about what these traditions taught or teach. The overarching theme this time of year is warming, grounding foods. So we want things like naturally sweet flavors. I'm not talking about refined sugars. I'm not talking about excess amounts of soda pop. I'm talking about like whole grains, root veggies, winter squash, and these are all going to be on the next slide. So you'll see all of these written down, but just foods that are already sweet by nature, not excessively sweet, just a little bit sweet is going to be very nourishing. Sweet is the most nourishing flavor there is. It's the flavor that we crave first as babies for a reason, because it helps us grow, it helps us feel grounded and stable, and helps to reduce stress and anxiety. But don't go overboard. Early fall, we also want to introduce bitter, which helps us to reduce the summer heat that is stored in our system from the summer, and astringent flavors, which helps to dry out any dampness that might be there. And I'm starting to feel a little achy, so I'm just going to move. Okay. Yeah, if you live in a very dry climate, then you want to avoid the astringent foods. But if you live in a balanced climate or in a relatively moist climate at the beginning of autumn, then definitely include the astringent foods in your diet. In late fall, that wants to switch to salty and sour flavors. And again, we're talking about naturally salty flavors. You don't need to douse your food with a whole lot of salt, but adding things like seaweed and soy sauce and that kind of thing that have natural salty flavors is going to be helpful. We also want to eat more cooked foods, with the exception of fermented vegetables. So fermented vegetables are naturally warming. So you're adding more warmth to your digestion by eating fermented foods, and you're also supporting your gut in that way, which we now know really supports mental health. 90% of serotonin is produced in your gut. Isn't that wild? So modern science is starting to really support all of these ancient wisdoms. So I think that's super cool. You also want to eat more warm foods and drinks and regular meal times. Again, we want to have as much rhythm and structure to our days as possible, with some flexibility. This doesn't mean that you need to like freak out if you have to push dinner to 7 instead of 6, but or if you have to skip your morning routine for some reason. That's not the biggest deal in the world, but you just want to have as much rhythm and routine as possible to try to just give you some structure to your life so that there's more predictability, so that you feel a little bit more grounded. And regular meal times are a great way to do that. And eating with presence and using meals as a ritual is also really lovely. So really enjoying your food. What's really cool is that digestion starts in your mind. So the digestive juices start to flow just when you're thinking about a food that you like to eat. So your mouth literally actually does start to water. It's not just a saying. So when you have food in front of you, take a moment to really enjoy the way that it looks and enjoy the way that it smells, and really just appreciate your food before you dig into it. And then when you're eating it, if you can notice the way it feels in your mouth while you're chewing it, and notice how it feels when it's entering your body, and just bring as much joy and appreciation to that mealtime, that's going to help your digestion, and it's going to help you also feel better in your body and in your mind as well. So some specific foods that you want to eat more of include, oops, soups, stews, broths, congees, and kicharis. These are all soupy foods that are easy to digest. They're cooked over a longer period of time, so they're very warming, and they're absolutely fabulous in the fall and winter. So go ahead and eat a lot of those, unless you have a whole lot of dampness in your system, in which case you can talk to me and we can find alternatives for you. But generally speaking, most people do really well with soups, stews, broths, congees, and kicharis this time of year. You can't really overdo it. it's hard to overdo. You also want to add a lot of root veggies, so sweet potatoes, carrots, beets, celeriac, parsnips, etc. All of those delicious root veggies are going to be really good at literally making your body feel grounded and helping you feel grounded as a result. Winter squash, and notice that root veggies and winter squash are naturally sweet in flavor, right, which is the flavor that we want to emphasize this time of year. Dark leafy greens, we've got a little bit of bitterness there, so that's really great. Kale, collards, chard, and spinach, these all want to be lightly cooked or more heavily cooked. More heavily cooked is going to reduce some of the nutrients on those. So generally, if I'm having a soup or a stew or a congee or kachari, I add the dark leafy greens in the last 5 minutes so that they are cooked but not overly cooked, so that the nutrient profile is still pretty strong. Hearty grains, preferably soaked and sprouted, things like brown rice, oats, rice, red rice, wild rice, wheat berries, and so on are going to be really great this time of year. Preferably soaked because it removes some of the phytic acid also from legumes, and sprouted adds some, makes your food alive. So food is always better for you when it's alive. So unless it's like an animal, but I'm talking about like vegetables are better. The fresher they are and the more alive they are, those are better. So if you can sprout your grains, that would be awesome. If you can't, that's totally fine. But it is really great practice to get into sprouting and soaking grains ahead of time. And they tend to taste better too, which is really cool. Black beans, red lentils, mung beans, adzuki beans. And if you are not a vegetarian, then adding more meat to your diet are also going to be really hearty, great proteins this time of year. And again, you want to soak these if you can and sprout them even better if possible. And it's a lot easier than it sounds. It sounds like this big cumbersome task, but once you get into the rhythm of it, it's actually really fun and rewarding to soak and sprout grains and legumes. So I encourage you to try it at home. Nuts and seeds, same thing. You can soak and sprout them. I generally actually skip on this one. I will admit, I usually just buy pre-sprouted seeds. I haven't had the best of luck sprouting them at home, but I also haven't tried it too hard, I will admit. So yeah, you can do what you like on that, but eating nuts and seeds this time of year is really great. And grounding fats and oils, again, we want to have more of that like material, solid, earthy essence in our lives this time of year to keep us grounded as the autumn winds are blowing. So having grounding fats and oils is going to help to keep your mind from floating along the breeze too much and going into anxious, stressful places. So adding more things like pasture-raised ghee, which is just clarified butter. You can buy it pre-made or make it at home. Super easy to make, doesn't take much time, and it's really fun and delicious. You can also add more avocados and avocado oil. Those are nice and heavy. Cold pressed olive oil is good all year round. Use that as much as you can. It's got great health benefits and it's just wonderful stuff. And then sesame oil to finish your meals right now, or add like tahini at the end of a meal or into your sauces is a really good idea, because sesames are warming and nourishing and really great this time of year as well. Warming herbs and spices like cardamom, clove, garlic, turmeric, always with black pepper, because the piperidine in black pepper activates the curcumin anti-inflammatory properties and turmeric. So you always want to combine those two. Ginger, coriander, cumin, cinnamon, and so on. Those warming spices are going to be great this time of year. Raw honey, maple syrup, and molasses. Do you notice what these have in common? They're all naturally sweet. So adding those to your food is going to be really nourishing and grounding and help you feel a little bit sweeter in your life as well. And then fermented foods, things like pickles, sauerkraut, miso, tempeh, kefir, yogurt, they should all be in the refrigerator section, and they should say things like live culture or fermented on them. So make sure that they're not just pickled, but that they're actually fermented. If you can get sprouted tofu, even better, again, because it's more alive. Yeah, these are really great to incorporate all year round, but especially in the colder weather. Not too much. I would do like 3 times a week to keep your gut healthy. If you do too much, sometimes that can be too much for some people, but experiment, see what works for your body and find out what feels best to you. Local, organic, pasture raised, and wild meat and fish are great protein sources if you are a meat eater. So now would be the time to incorporate more like bone broths, and bone marrow is really, really great if you're a meat eater this time of year, and that kind of thing. Salmon, always good. Specific foods to avoid in autumn. Dry foods. Dry foods are crunchy, and so they have a lot of air in them. So you want to avoid having too many dry foods. So avoid the chips and the crackers and even toast. I'm a big fan of toast, but I would avoid it as much as possible in the autumn, especially if it's really dry outside. Coffee and other forms of caffeine, this adds more of that erratic air element to your mind and body. So we know that, right? You get the jitters when you have too much caffeine. So if you're able to reduce or eliminate caffeine and caffeinated beverages right now, that would be ideal. Especially if you are dealing with anxiety and stress. Carbonated drinks, again, literally have air in them, right? They have air bubbles. So you're adding more air into your system than you want. So if you can avoid the carbonated beverages this time of year, you're also going to feel more grounded by doing that. Large beans like cannellini, kidney, and pinto beans tend to cause gas. So you want to avoid those. But if you're going to eat them, then make sure that they're sprouted or at least soaked. And raw foods are really crunchy. They're harder for your body to digest, and they add more air to your system, and they're just not great. Also, they're cold, and you want to avoid cold foods and beverages as the weather gets colder, because it's already cold outside. You don't need more cold in your body. And then you're just going to kind of shut down the whole system. So as it's cold outside, you want to add more warmth to your body. As it's warm outside, then you can start to have more cooling elements in your diet and lifestyle. But right now, you really want to keep your core warm so your digestion is not impeded, and so that you're still feeling good. And this also helps on an emotional level, because emotions are meant to move. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But warm things move and cold things don't move as easily. So avoiding the cold foods and beverages is going to be preferable right now. And as always, this goes all year long. Avoiding processed, refined, non-organic, non-local, and canned foods is going to be preferable. Fresh and local is best. I'm not going to get into that really right now, but if you have questions, please let me know. Okay. I'm going to take a sip of tea, and then I will keep talking. I'm starting to get a little tickle in my throat. One moment. Okay, let's get even deeper. So let's talk about routine and ritual. Now, autumn again is associated with the lung organ network, which is the rhythm keeper. And having routine and ritual is a really great way to support the lung this time of year, but also just support your mental health and adding some more predictability and stability to your life. So I recommend designing a morning routine that can have any of the following elements. This is really just a ideal list. That's, even that word isn't ideal. It's not the best word. It's just a list, a menu for you to choose from. And I encourage you to look at this menu and see what you think intuitively might be something that you want to incorporate into your morning routine, and then try that out. And take baby steps when you're starting routines. You don't need to do it all at once. Just start with one little tiny little thing that feels good to you, and let it grow from there naturally, adding more intention into your life that way. And we're going to be talking a little bit about morning routines and evening routines specifically, but you can add routine into your everyday life as well. So I'm just giving you some suggestions here, but the more routine that you can add, the more structure, the more little rituals that you can incorporate into your everyday life, especially in autumn, the better you're going to feel. So you want to wake up with the sun whenever possible. I know that that sounds really early or uncomfortable, but the sun is rising later this time of year anyway. So you're going to end up with some more sleep. Some people don't have the flexibility with school and with work to wake up when they want to, but if you can wake up just before or with the sun, that's going to be best for your system and your circadian rhythm. Doing some pranayama breathing practices. Again, we've got the lung organ network being really strong here in the air element, wanting to be supported. And so controlling your breathing and doing some breathing practices like just big circle breaths or ujjayi breath or breath of fire this time of year, as long as you're not pregnant or menstruating. There's a lot of breathing practices that you can learn about and practice in the morning. That's going to be really beneficial. I'm not going to teach those right now, but they are really good to get into in the autumn, especially. Setting intentions for the day, feeling the feelings that you want to feel and cultivating that in your neural networks. The more you feel something, the stronger the neural connections in your brain and nervous system in general become. So if you practice feeling like, oh, I want to feel joyful, and then you practice feeling that in your heart, you'll have an easier time tapping into that feeling later in the day as well. Gratitude is a great way to do this. When you practice gratitude, do feel that feeling in your body. That is the key to helping this support your mental health and having it carry through the rest of your day more strongly. So think of something that you're grateful for and then feel the appreciation and love for that in your body. And that's going to support you a lot. Massaging your joints with warming sesame oil this time of year is a lovely practice to have in the morning. Stretching your body, adding a little bit of warmth into your system and movement, lubricating those joints is really, really nice in autumn when things tend to dry out and become a little bit stiffer. Going outside for 10 minutes before 9 a.m. Now, this is important. You can't just look out the window and get this benefit. You really actually have to step outside and get that blue light, which is filtered through windows. So get direct exposure to the outside fresh air. You're going to have the benefit of having fresh air. If you are able to spend time with nature, maybe sit by a tree or have your feet in some grass or touch a flower, smell a flower, whatever it is, then you're getting the Shinrin Yoku benefit of forest bathing on a micro level. The Japanese talk about going into the forest for mental health. It's a prescribed therapy. So you can get a little bit of that by just going outside in the morning, but also really getting that blue light exposure, which is going to set the rhythm for your hormones for the rest of the day. And again, we really want to have more rhythm, and having hormonal health is going to help your mental health as well. So going outside for 10 minutes before 9 a.m. is going to help set all of that up for you. Going for a brisk walk is a really good idea. And then we've got our evening routine. So again, this is just a menu of things to choose from. See what pops out at you, what you want to start doing, and let it grow from there. So going to bed within 3 to 4 hours of sunset, ideally. Now, I know in some places the sun sets ridiculously early, so this is within reason. This is just on average, but going to bed before 10 p.m. is almost always a good idea in autumn. Avoiding overhead lighting. Overhead lighting activates those wake up hormones, as does blue light from screens. We'll get into that in a second. So really just dimming the lights and helping your body settle into the evening is going to be really good. Lighting candles can be really romantic and lovely as well. Just be careful with them. Spending 10 minutes outside again. And if you can look at the moon is going to be really great, especially if you are a menstruating woman. So menstrual cycles are also called moon cycles for a reason, especially in the past when people were living outside. All the women in a tribe usually were menstruating at the same time during the new moon. And we have gotten out of tribal living and outdoor living, and we have lost that connection to the moon. So really spending some time with the moon every evening is going to help to regulate your hormones and connect you to nature and help you feel really, really great. And that helps your mental health as well. Turning off screens 1 to 2 hours before bed. Most people know this at this point. Most people don't follow it. I will admit that I usually don't either, but especially if you have problems with insomnia, falling asleep, staying asleep, and so on, then this is something that you might want to think about prioritizing, because the light from screens can really mess up your hormone flow, and also just the stimulation from screens can add too much windy activity to your mind that you want to settle down and ground in the evening. Meditation is a really great way to do this, to settle yourself. Meditation is great any time of day. If you don't get to it in the evening, that's fine. If you get to it throughout the day, that's wonderful. Living in a meditative state is, I won't say the best state of being, but it's pretty freaking awesome. So if the more you can practice meditation and taking meditation off of the mat and really applying it to your everyday life by being just present and aware and noticing yourself, witnessing life unfolding right here, right now, that's going to help your mental health tremendously, and all living beings everywhere as a result of your practice. Gentle yoga is a really lovely thing to do in the evening. You can look up Yin Yoga or Yoga Nidra if you don't know how to do yoga on your own. There's wonderful guides, and those can really help you settle down and calm your system down for the evening. This is also a really great time to reflect and journal, and we will talk more about that in a moment. Okay, so here we go, leading us right into reflection and release, and with journal prompts specifically. But before we get into those, let's talk about autumn and the season of grief. So this is really important. Grief is really important, and it's not talked about enough in our society. We tend to avoid it. We tend to feel really uncomfortable. It doesn't feel the most wonderful in our bodies generally, right? Sometimes it can feel painful, but when we learn to separate the sensation of grief with the interpretation, and just focus in on the sensation and the energy of it, and allowing our bodies to tap into what's happening and allow it to process through our bodies without judging it as bad, then the suffering goes away. The pain might still be there, but the suffering goes away. And grief is really, really important in all parts of life, even in really good, happy moments. So moments like graduations, weddings, the birth of a child, every new thing automatically implies the release of an old thing. And we tend to focus on the new thing rather than allowing ourselves to spend some time grieving the loss of the old thing. So autumn is a really great time to catch up on all those old things that you didn't give yourself time to grieve. And also to reflect on the things that you're letting go of now, or in the process of letting go of, and allowing them to be released more smoothly so that you can welcome more of what you want into your life moving forward. So autumn is the season of grief, and now is a good time to let yourself reflect on what has changed in your life and really feel the emotions associated with those changes. Emotions are energy that moves out of you. So E comes from Latin out, and motion means movement. And these need to physically move out of you. Emotions are called feelings for a reason, because you feel them in your body, and they're energy that needs to move through your body and be released through your body. They need to be expressed. They need to be pushed out, pressed out, expressed. And this means that you need to allow, if you want to release emotions, especially an emotion like grief, you need to allow your body to cry, to sob, to shake, to moan, to twist and turn in any way that it wishes to allow it to express that emotion out and allow that energy to move through your physical body. And we will talk a little bit how to do that. And I will guide you through how to do that in the meditation that's coming up. So stay tuned for that. And here are the journal prompts. So all of these are ideas for you to sit with and chew on over time. So the answers are going to change, and you're going to have insights come to you over time that won't come to you right away. So each one of these you can sit with for a whole day, a whole week, a whole month. Maybe you just do one of these questions this autumn and save the rest for later. Just again, it's a menu of things that you can choose from. Notice what you're drawn to and follow that intuition and curiosity. So one of the questions that you might want to sit with is, what truly nourishes me, mind, body, and spirit? What do I value? What's important to me? What aspects of my life, like activities, the shoulds, don't stop shoulding yourself. What are all the shoulds that you're putting on yourself? What desires, thoughts, beliefs, belongings, interactions, and so on, relationships, am I ready to let go of? So this comes into boundaries, right? And where would I like to set clear boundaries. And again, if you want more on boundaries, I've got a free PDF over on my website, katerinabarata.com/boundaries, and I can guide you through how to set clearer boundaries firmly and compassionately with loved ones. Didn't mean to make that many plugs for this, but it's a really great resource. It's totally free. And so if you are somebody who feels uncomfortable around boundaries, please do go check that out because it will help you. All right. So let us do this guided meditation to release stress and anxiety. And know as we go into it that this is about physical expression. So you are possibly going to end up crying. You may end up shaking. You may end up moving your body in some ways that your body wants to move. So I recommend that you do this in a safe place, a place where you feel safe and quiet, and you will not be disturbed for the time of the meditation. And I also recommend that you revisit this meditation if you feel like it serves you, because every time you do it, you're going to be peeling away the layers of an onion and crying the whole way, but releasing, releasing, releasing until you feel much lighter and freer. So if you like it, please feel free to do it often and also share it with other people who might benefit from it. I'm going to take a sip of water again, and then we can get started. But while I'm hydrating myself, why don't you just find a comfortable seat and allow your feet to either rest on the floor or have them crossed underneath you, and allow your spine to lengthen, and your hands can just rest on your thighs. You can find a spot in front of you to focus on softly, or you can choose to close your eyes like I will probably do. That's how I prefer to do this, but it's completely up to you. Just get yourself comfortable and allow your posture to be long and straight. Okay. If you feel like you're having a little bit of a hard time having your spine be long, then you might want to stand up again and really stick your booty out like you've got a tail that you're wagging, and try sitting down like that. And that kind of helps you stack your hips and your spine on an easier way. You might also want to try elevating your hips on a pillow that can take the pull out of your lower back if you have tight hips and lower back. So those are all options for modifications. There's no right or wrong. Just find a comfortable place to sit and start to notice what's happening in your body. And notice what your thoughts are doing. If you're suddenly thinking about all the things to do, or there's a problem that you desperately need to solve right now because your thoughts are telling you that it needs to be solved, just notice that your thoughts are doing that. Know that it's all conditioned from the past. Those thoughts are there to try to steer you away from pain and towards pleasure and things that feel safe and good to you. They're there for a reason, but you don't need them right now. All you need to do is be present and observe. So observe the thoughts and let them go. And come back to focusing on the sense of aliveness that you have in your body. And you might want to visualize now the cells in your body. And those cells are made up of molecules, and those molecules are made up of atoms. And if you tap into one of those atoms, you will see that it is almost entirely made up of empty space. And even the solid bit of the atom, the nucleus, might not be quite as solid as you think it is. So this means that if atoms are almost entirely empty space, potential energy for electrons to travel throughout, for life force energy to travel in, this means that every molecule in your body is also almost entirely empty space, and every cell in your body is almost entirely empty space, and every organ in your body is almost entirely empty space, and your entire body is almost entirely empty space, and the air around you is almost entirely empty space. Now see if you can feel into this emptiness, this empty space in which all of this arises, all of this physical reality arises. See if you can just feel the empty space that unifies it all, that is the backdrop to all of the activity, all of the definition, all of the thoughts, all of the feelings. Just really tune into the empty space and yourself as the observer of this empty space. Maybe yourself as the empty space rather than the interpretations and the physicality and the thoughts and the judgments and all of that that arises within it. Really feeling into the expansiveness of this empty space that unifies everything. The space in which all of it arises. And you might already be noticing that there's parts of your body that feel denser, that feel more solid, that have more trouble accepting the empty space. But we're really going to tune into those intentionally now. So beginning with the very top of your head, just feeling into the top of your head and noticing what is there. Noticing if it feels open or if it feels closed. If you feel a border or if you feel a doorway. If it feels like ice or if it feels like vapor. You might also notice memories arising in different parts of the body as we go through them. And just like with all thoughts, noticing those memories that are stored there in your body. And then returning your focus to the sensations of the energy rather than the thoughts and the stories and interpretations that go with it. So beginning at the top of your head, feeling what is to be felt there. And then moving down in through your skull, through all the bones in your skull, to the space between your ears. Noticing your forehead, your eyebrows, your eyes, nose, cheeks, lips, chin, jaw. Just noticing what's happening in all of these places, noticing if they feel tense or if they feel open. Observing any memories that arise and just taking note and letting go and coming back to the sensation. Checking in with your gums and your teeth and your tongue and your throat. In the back of your neck, your occiput where the skull meets your neck. The top of your spine and all the cervical vertebrae. See 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Coming down to the tops of your shoulders, collarbone, your sternum, breastbone. The tops of your shoulder blades and your shoulder sockets, upper arms, elbows, lower arms, wrists, hands, palms, fingers, fingertips, just scanning for what's there, just taking note and observing without trying to change anything, without judging it as good or bad. If emotions already are arising, allow them to flow through you, allow them to express themselves. Coming into your rib cage, the fullness of your shoulder blades, your armpits, the sides of your torso, your lungs and your heart, the heart protector around your heart. your thoracic spine, which attaches to all your ribs. T1, T2, T3, moving down T4, T5, right across from your heart center. T6, T7, T8, T9, T10, T11, and 12. Moving down into your abdominal cavity, into your stomach, your spleen and your pancreas on the left side below your ribs, your liver and gallbladder on the right side, your large intestine moving up the right side, across and down the left, your small intestine right below the belly button, your bladder and your sex organs. Just noticing what the energy is in all of these places. Coming into your kidneys on your lower back, below your ribs, and your lumbar spine, L1, L2, L3 across from your belly button, L4, and L5. Onto your sacrum and your tailbone, feeling if it feels congested or open. Your hips, your thighs, your hamstrings, upper legs, knees, lower legs, calves, shins, ankles, feet, heels, arches of your feet, balls of your feet, toes. And now choosing one place in particular where you felt some congestion, some more solidness than openness, maybe tension, maybe a memory that you would rather release or uncomfortable memories. Noticing where those are stored in your body and choosing one in particular, one area. And allowing yourself to just focus in, like you're shining a flashlight in this dark place that you normally don't look at very specifically. And allowing yourself to just feel the energy there, feel what's arising. And if your mind comes to interpret it and say, oh, this is painful, this is awful, this is not what I want, just noticing what those thoughts are, thanking them for taking care of you and protecting you, and then bringing your attention back to the energy and shining a loving light on it with curiosity and openness. Allowing that energy to be there and to move if it wants to show you what it wants to show you, to say what it has to say. And allowing your body to respond and express whatever comes up. If tears come up, allow them to flow. If movement arises, allow your body to move. Sometimes we need to shake or moan, allowing all of those things to happen if they want to. Just keep coming back to the sensation that you have in this place in your body. Or as the energy moves, just following that energy along your body and seeing where it guides you to. And if it's not releasing, then imagine that you're opening a window right in front of this point of tension. And that the tension is warming up and turning from ice to steam, starting to melt into thaw. And that steam is just slowly starting to travel right out of that window and be carried off into the ether, where it can be recycled and reused and used to turn into something new and beautiful. And just allow yourself to release a little bit more and allow it to steam off a little bit more right out that open window. And see if you can let go of that tension just a little bit more. And a little bit more. And can you let go just a little bit more? And a little bit more. And one more time, just a little bit more. Letting go, releasing, allowing the energy to dissolve and move. And if you wish to repeat this in other parts of your body, you can rewind the video and move through other points of tension. And if you're ready to be done, you can allow some movement to enter into your body again, wiggling your fingers and your toes, allowing your eyes to flutter open if they were closed, maybe stretching your body, and meeting back here. Thank you for joining me in that. I hope that you found it stress relieving, relaxing, and beautiful. And if you felt scared at any point, if it felt difficult to face those emotions, that's okay. That's okay. All in good time. Just keep meeting yourself with love and it'll happen. Okay, so thank you so much for being here for this presentation. I hope that you found it as useful as I have found this information in my own life. I know that I used to be really, really stressed and anxious, and learning these natural medicine strategies has completely transformed everything. I'm a completely new person, and I couldn't be more grateful to my teachers. And if you would like to learn more, again, I invite you to follow and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and make sure you click that little bell that's there so you get all updates whenever I do post a new video. And head on over to my website to download the Bliss Kit if that is something that interests you. And if you would like more support in learning natural ways to reduce and release stress and anxiety, I would be honored to help you. My motto is that mental health is rooted in the body and physical health is shaped by the mind. And again, these are strategies that have really changed my own life, and I love sharing them with other people. So if you are interested in doing that, then I invite you to check out my personalized wellness plans and holistic mental health coaching offers so that you can learn how to heal the root causes of stress and anxiety for yourself. This is really an empowering way to have a toolbox of strategies in your back pocket that you can turn to so that you can navigate life's changing waters with more ease and grace. Some things that are included in personalized wellness plans and holistic mental health coaching are things like personalized herbal medicine that is really specific to your exact needs in your body right now, given what's going on for you. Acupressure and moxibustion that you can take home. So I will teach you which points to use. You will have a personalized acupressure subscription, and you can give yourself acupressure and moxibustion at home. So it's like taking home an acupuncture treatment without the needles. Dietary advice to balance your mind and body based on your unique constitution. We all have different ways in which our bodies are in balance or out of balance. So I will take a look at what's going on for you and what tends to go on for you, and really guide you towards the foods that will help you stay the most grounded and balanced throughout the year. I also include yoga and qigong in some of these plans, meditation and mindset practices, customized wellness routines and rituals for your unique circumstances. So this is just like the rituals and routines that I suggested here. I'm going to give you this whole menu of options of things that I think may serve you given what's going on for you. And then you get to pick and choose what really floats your boat right now, what you think that will be the most doable for you, whether that's a tiny little step or a whole lot all at once. Generally, I recommend taking a little bite at a time, and I will work with you to design these routines and rituals in a way that works for you given what's going on in your life right now. And I will support you so that you follow through on all of this and actually see and feel the results that you want. So if that interests you, you might be curious what other people have said. Well, a wonderful woman who I just worked with named Katie spontaneously wrote me this thank you after I sent her the personalized wellness plan. And she said, "Thank you so much for this extensive write up. It's got me in tears, tears of relief that someone, a warm, kind, empathetic, and compassionate professional, finally sees me and is giving me what I've been asking doctors for years. Tears of overwhelm. This is a lot, a lot. Again, it's a menu, it's a long menu of things to choose from. And then I'm going to work with you to figure out what you should choose first and what you can do first to really see the maximum impact. Tears of gratitude. This is a lot of really good stuff. Tears of hope, something I haven't felt for myself in a long, long time. Thank you from the very middle of my heart, Katie." So if you feel like Katie, if you feel like you've been looking for a way to heal the roots of your stress and anxiety for a long time, if you feel like you've asked doctors about weird symptoms that have come up for you and they'd say it's all in your head, if you've tried therapy and it didn't really do anything for you, then this might be for you. So if that's you, then please contact me for a free consultation. My email is hello@katerinabarata.com. I would love to chat with you for 15 to 30 minutes to see if we're a good fit. I don't work with everybody, but I would love to hear about you and what's going on for you. And if I'm not the right person for you, then I will help you find the support that you need so that you can heal in the direction that you want to. So if that interests you, I would be honored to talk to you. Please do contact me. I look forward to it immensely, and I cannot wait to see where this takes you. Thank you again so much for being here, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, that's all for today. Bye.